Next fight. This one's pretty intriguing. I see a lot of people on two different sides of this. Yair Rodríguez and Brian Ortega. This is a rematch as well. This is something that was very unfortunate for both guys. The first time they fought, it ended in the first round. Brian Ortega ended up separating his shoulder. I have a lot of concerns with Ortega in this fight, and this is why. When you watch that first round of that first fight before it ended, both of these guys were having success. You had, Yair Rodríguez, who ultimately we knew would have success on the outside. This dude is a freak athlete. He's young. He trains in 12,000 feet above altitude in like some temple in Mexico somewhere. So when this guy goes to camp, this guy dials in. And you just knew, but his athletic ability, his ability to make reads, his lateral movement, like Ortega's a good striker, but he's a traditional style striker. He's not going to get dynamic. He's not going to use, certain footwork. He's kind of going to use that normal lateral movement, little normal head movement, and he's kind of just going to go north and south. He's going to come forward. And he's also very hittable. But what Brian Ortega did very well in that fight was he was able to lock him down in certain spots. So when Brian Ortega wanted to lock him down and take that range away, he was able to put him up against the cage. He was able to lock him down. He did have some issues trying to take Rodríguez down, but when he did take him down, and this is a credit to Yair's athletic ability, he was able to kind of swivel his hips and unlock his hips and start threatening with an armbar. When he locked that up against Brian Ortega did the right thing. He tried to get his arm out. I mean, it was the position that he was in. There was other avenues if they were, in the center of the cage. But the position that he was in against the cage, he didn't have that many avenues to get out. So he had to kind of try to muscle his way out of that. And he did. Success to him, he did. But in the process, he separated his shoulder. The fight ended. So now my problem with that injury there is that anytime you get injured, a lot of people say, well, he's sidelined. When you're sidelined, that means you're sidelined. It doesn't mean you're just sidelined from fighting. You're sidelined from training. You're sidelined from so many different avenues of getting better and evolving your game. And in this time, you're only getting older. And this is a guy who has had issues with that shoulder 3 separate times. He's had 3 surgeries on that shoulder. So that is something you got to be concerned with, but not so much the injuries. All the time off during these injuries where Yair has been active. He's been healthy. He's been training. He had 2 fights since then. So when you put all that together, you're saying to yourself, well, the mountain to climb here is on the Ortega side. This is a guy who has been inactive when Yair is the far better athlete, has the higher upside, has the better ceiling. To me, he's a much better, fighter. I think Yair is special. I really do. I did not like Rodríguez when he was coming in. I didn't like certain things that he did, his attitude at some points in time. But he's tend to grow into himself and become a lot more humble. And this kid has a very, very high ceiling. Where Ortega is what he is, right? It's T-City. This guy's got a nasty submission game. His striking is good. He is also a dog. But like I said, the time off, you can't have time off against a guy like as dynamic as Yair. Yair's going to surprise you with things. He's not going to just wrap up a gift and give it to you and show you his cards. He's going to throw cards from you at all different angles. He's going to do spinning back fists, flying knees. He's going to continue to circle the cage, bring you to the warning track, and kind of lull you into him. And that's where Ortega's going to have to really get timing down and make adjustments and try to lie. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that in this fight. So I do like Yair in this spot. I think it's a good fight, name value wise. But I think people are leaning on the name value a little bit too much on the Ortega side than really coming to the reality of the time off, the injuries, the more active fighter in Mexico. So it's really hard to make a good, solid argument for me for Ortega. Can he come in here and surprise everybody, snatch up a sub, jump guillotine, do something crazy, and get to? Absolutely. That's why they're fighting the fight. But if you're really looking at the economics of it, you kind of have to side with Yair here. So I do like Yair in this spot.